I felt it was incredibly important to make this video as an educator and really as a parent as well. When I was starting school in kindergarten, I never really left school. I just went from kindergarten through high school, and then I went to college, and then I went to graduate school, and then I went to being a teacher, and then I went to being a principal, and I really just never left school until about 4 or 5 years ago. And something that I never thought about until really there was just some moments that kind of made me think a little deeper on this, which all revolved around my heart condition. That, I had two major arteries to my heart blocked, one 100%, one 80%. And I've had some procedures done, and I'm doing great. By the way, those of you who've been praying for me, thank you. I'm doing great. But every time I sat in a waiting room, I kind of looked around, and everybody was much older than me. Everybody weighed a lot more than me. I'm a pretty active person. I generally would say I eat pretty well. I know there's some genetics to it because my parents, they had heart issues, but not until they were in their mid 70s to 80s. Here I am, early 50s, and I'm like a candidate for open heart surgery. So it really, I just kind of kept looking around thinking, well, why am I here? I'm just not at all like anybody else that's here. And as I thought a lot about that, I believe the differences are that I think probably about 80 to maybe 90% of the lunches I've ever had in my life came from a school cafeteria of some sorts. Whether it be, elementary school or high school or middle school or whatever. It was even in college, it was, you look at kind of the time, what was there was mostly like they had Taco Bell in there and Pizza Hut, and then they had a cafeteria. And you were kind of starting to get into some salad bar stuff. But then by the time I'm a high school teacher, it was all of a sudden it's just pizza and corn or, and I grew up in poverty, so I'm not one to turn away a free lunch. So I ate a lot of school lunches. A lot of them I ate. So really, I believe 80 to 90% of the lunches I've had in my life came from a school. And if you really kind of think about what that looks like, especially, I started school in the 70s. So you're talking the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and so forth. I was all through, in all those scenarios, 2000s, like, when pizza was fruit and stuff, like all those scenarios, that was always where I was, was in some sort of a school cafeteria chowing it down. And I believe that as parents, I think we need to kind of not let our kids grow up K through 12 eating that all the time, like something. I believe it's a major part of the health problem in America that we're in right now already. And I also believe that I'm living proof of that. There's the one variable. I don't know many people my age that have had this. But, one thing I do know for sure is that it was always some sort of something that like a burger or tacos or I remember a secretary that worked at a school, she said it's always like this, it's white meals, like very salty, starchy, gravy, oily, like white meals is a good description of it. And it's definitely not coming from fresh goodness of any kind or any sort of garden or it's not good stuff. And I believe that we have to I guess I just want to tell you, this is my warning to you. I feel like I at least have to say something. I'm sure everybody's gonna be like, why, I already know. But this is what I believe to be an incredibly important warning from a guy who, from about 6 years old to about 49 years old, pretty much ate every single meal in a school cafeteria of some sort for lunch. And then I believe what you have as a product is you have this. You know, you have a guy in his early 50s having heart procedures. So there you go. Heads up, wake up to it. Definitely recommend, you know, and by the way, I've worked at public and private schools, and honestly, it got kind of worse when I was at private schools, just being honest. You know, private schools are really good at making food that kids love. So they go home and go, oh my, I love the school lunches, you know, but man, they're not good for you. They are not good for you. Now, before you finish this video, I do want to take a second and say, hey, we're giving away a boat. We're sponsored with Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. All you have to do is call them in Kansas City, Kansas. The number is below, and you are automatically entered in to win. If you test drive a car from them, you're automatically entered 10 times. If you buy a car from them, you're entered 100 times. But all you have to do is call them, and you're automatically entered. So that number is below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests, so never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.